Well, and that's what we should be talking about, right? Because it's exciting, right? Live from the quarry. It's the new EP, some new songs, new adventure, writing yourself, producing. You're getting weird lights on yourself. What's going on over there? What's weird
Oh,
lights right here?
it's just Tennessee clouds.
Okay. Man, that's a huge difference too, because you were really bright for a second there. I'm like, whoa. Okay. Making sure. All right. So talk a little bit about this journey. I mean, we're in the middle of pandemic shutdown stuff, your personal journey and all of that. What led you to go down the journey of I'm going to write my own? I'm going to kind of go a little more because this is the first time you've really kind of done a lot more of it just yourself, right? A lot less reliance on others.
Yeah, I would say that was out of necessity. I have never considered myself to be a great songwriter, and it's why I think I avoided writing on my own for so many years. But at the top of 2020, I needed to try something other than what I had already been doing to find healing. And I had always believed that songwriting, can be a form of therapy. And for the first time, I really, really needed therapy in that way. And so I planned a trip up to a cabin in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And I was wanting to go by myself, and my sweet parents ended up coming with me. But they kind of just let me have my space, and before I left, my husband packed the back of the car with some gear. So a microphone, a MIDI controller, speakers, headphones, just the basics. And he had recorded a tutorial video on how to set it all up. And he sent me off saying, hey, I know that you just wanted to bring your guitar and just like record voice memos, but I think you really need to try producing again. And I think because I had tried years before and it just didn't click. And he said, I believe in you as a producer, as a songwriter, and I want you to have everything at your fingertips if you're brave enough to try that for a day. And so the first day I set it all up, and basically I haven't stopped producing, and it's become a whole other instrument, a whole other form of expression, a whole other way to communicate a feeling or a thought. There's rhythms that can make you feel like you're on the edge of something. There are sounds that can make you feel like you're going from your heart to your head, and you've got an elevated form of thinking. And I really feel like sound waves, not just lyrics, can really communicate so much. So I'm really thankful to be able to create in this space. And what's really exciting to me is that with just DAW systems and the way that recording is now, every single artist, man and woman, boy and girl, they have the autonomy and the capability to not just write songs, but to try to capture the sounds that they're hearing in their heads as well. I'm sure you're saying amazing things, Brandon, but you're on mute, and now I'll never know what you said.
I said amazing things. It was beautiful. It was poetic even. I had muted because I was coughing while you were talking. I didn't want to cough. Oh, no, I was agreeing with you that because of the technology, it just makes every aspect of creativity. There's just so many things that we're on like an exponential curve. It's like doing this stream. I mean, it was impossible. And then it was so complicated before. And then it was so expensive. It was like, and you had, it was like the closest thing you could get was, well, I'll rent radio studio time. Or, I mean, it was like to be independent, not have a boss, and not have, corporate overlords say no on this, no on that. I need you to do this. You suck up to this advertiser. Now it's like, yeah, I can do what I want to do and when I want to do it. And it's on every level. And to know that you can throw your recording gear in the back of a car and escape and just let it go. That's pretty amazing what can come out of that. And I would encourage people to take that as an inspiration, folks. If Mariah's story, that's beautiful, because this is just these few songs that she's releasing at the end of the month. It's just the first wave. You know what I mean? This is. I want to encourage you, and I wanted to know it does well, but it seems like that journey's step one. I mean, you're barely off the starting block of what you can experience, and you talk about your life experiences for so long. Think about how much of that you haven't even tapped into yet. You know, your thought processes and dwelling on things that you've experienced and gone through, your family may have gone through, and next thing you know, you've got inspirations for songs and melodies that that's awesome stuff. That's great. How did you shift from just doing the recording to do like a live thing? That's a different undertaking in and of itself.
Well, I'm a pretty analytical person, and kind of tentative to do most things, which again is why naivety is so important in my life. But I was pretty intimidated by the idea of taking songs that I had written by myself and produced by myself for the first time and putting both of those things out at the same time. It just felt like too much vulnerability too soon. So I was like, okay, maybe just one of these things. Like, it's kind of like the other day we had a red carpet event for the Dove Awards, and it's like, I hate wearing dresses. I hate wearing high heels. I can't do both. So let me just do one. So I wore a dress and I wore sneakers, and I felt great. Same thing. It's like, I can't just show these songs that I've written them on my own and produce them at the same time. Let's just do one. So I ended up sending the original productions to a really wonderful friend of mine. We met at church. He was leading the band, and come to find out, he lives a couple streets behind me, and his wife is amazing, and we've become the best of friends. And so I asked him to MD for me. I sent him the demos, and so he put together a band who each musician that he brought together is a producer in their own right. So they were able to listen to the demos, listen to the productions, and then create their own interpretations of those parts. And so what you hear with the Live from the Quarry EP is a bunch of different people's interpretations of this like mysterious demo that may or may not ever be heard by everyone else. But I love these live versions. I love what they came up with. And funny backstory, two of the guys that were in the band for this performance, the drummer named Garrett Tyler and the bass player named Dilo, or Daniel Lopez, or as I call him, Papicito. They did an incredible job. And so when For King and Country started auditioning people to add some musicians to their band, their tapes came through, and it was so like, oh my gosh, these are the guys from the Quarry, and they crushed it, and they were so good. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. So they're in the For King and Country band now, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, Joel was talking about expanding that. Buying bongos at the last minute, which made me laugh, because bongos. That's awesome. Anything that involves bongos is going to be fun for me. What is the process for you? Because I mean, there's like this weird, like last minute race. The EP will be available. You're doing some promotional stuff. You're probably also having your brain running through all those creative juices, because my experience is once we turn them on, they don't really shut off. How is that going in your little brain of brains? And
in my over analytical brain?
So, okay, let's back up on that. So how okay, so I have a formula that I'm X% OCD plus X% ADD. Where are you on that scale? Because I got a feeling you have a high proportion of both of those possibly as well.
I'm going to take that as a massive compliment.
It's meant to be, because you sound so analytical, and I think when you break down a lot of our analytical minds, it's because, oh, wait a minute, because we have this constant flow, and then we
Right.
also want this constant perfection and this tweaking, and it just
Right.
never stops. Once you're in it, it's almost like going in a river. It's like you just can't stop. It just keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have a natural dose of either creativity or call it type A organization, from the beginning of our lives. And then our experiences really help shape and integrate us. I would say I'm, I don't know, I am a bit of both. Like I enjoy creating, but I enjoy structure. I enjoy clarity. I enjoy, input equaling output. Like math was my favorite subject because it's like black and white, yes or no. It's like you got it right or you got it wrong. And sometimes creativity can be, take writing, for example, like even go back to your school days. It's like, I wrote an essay and I'm not sure if I'm doing this right or if there's so much left to interpretation.
Sure.
So I think what I've really enjoyed, not just experiencing, but almost putting pen to paper in the last few years, is that bridge that exists between creativity and business acumen. I just graduated, I should say class of 2020, but because of 2020, I just had my graduation ceremony this year. But
well, congratulations.
Thank you. And my degree is in organizational leadership, and there's an emphasis on marketing, and it's from the School of Professional Studies at Lipscomb University. So everything was geared towards how do you take the lifestyle of a musician and validate and commend those skills that we learn in a very nebulous world, put them in black and white, and then refine. And so I helped kind of test the beta version of this program and helped kind of give feedback and refine so that other artists can walk through the same program. But I think one of the big, maybe the common misconceptions that we were able to deconstruct is this idea that artists are not academics, and that if you're creative, you are not welcome in an academic space, and that you can't bring, or there's nothing you can offer to that space. I don't think that's true. I think that bridge between the two worlds is really short, and there's a lot of crossover. And so also another thing is, like, I don't buy this idea that marketing and branding are like bad conversations and that we shouldn't be talking about it in any ministry spaces. I think there's this kind of stereotype that marketing is manipulation, and that branding is just a distraction from what really matters. But it's all a form of communication.
Yes.
And I think that some of the greatest, faith leaders who have impacted this world for the kingdom have had a really wonderful understanding of both the power of words and content and how to communicate those words. It's not enough to just have a good story. You have to tell a great story about the story.
Yeah. And if you don't understand that you're competing against that type of marketing and branding, then you're not going to be able to get heard. You're just drowned out. So you kind of have to at least start to understand some of it. I think that's why so many churches have shifted, and you see renaming, rebranding, and different things kind of across the spectrum there. And that goes across everything. But man, it's cool to see, man, you have really jumped out into two different forays of independent songwriter / producer, and also marketing and branding, and you've become your own independent entrepreneur, and like exponentially, like more than you were before. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all are. I think we all have the potential to have ownership over our
Yeah.
art, and it takes a lot of faith, and it takes a lot of, I think, pain and failure. I think God uses those things to remind us that um, we need people. We need to lean on the people around us. I wouldn't be doing any of what I'm doing if it wasn't for the encouragement of my family, of my, my husband, my manager. My grandparents were my sole motivation for finishing school. There was nothing in me that wanted to like get a degree, but I was so determined to give them my diploma and say thank you. And my husband and my manager have both really, really encouraged me, and I've had to borrow their belief in times where I'm faced with something that I don't think I'm capable of doing. So I'm just thankful for the team that's around me.